Good evening, and thank you for joining us tonight. Again, my name is Brian Otot. I'm superintendent of the Paulding County School District. Be joined again this evening by Mr. Eric Hofstetter, who's our Chief Operations Officer. And I would just like to sincerely thank our community for their tuning in, to providing feedback during what is always a challenging process whenever that you're looking at the realignment process. But as always, I would really encourage everyone to go to Slido right now. We only have 2 questions on the poll. We have 1 poll question tonight, just letting us know where you're from. And again, our Slido event is 32386. Again, 32386. And our first question, as it has been at all of our meetings, just to kind of give us an idea of who's here, and that is, what child does your school attend? And of course, tonight we have all of our schools impacted joining us, and it looks like right now it's pretty close between McClure, Shelton, and Abney. So thank you for logging in. Thank you for joining us. And we sincerely appreciate you. Just a reminder to everyone that all the documents we've shared throughout this process are available at www.paulding.k12.ga.us/planning for the future. And if you go to our homepage, the easiest way to get there, upper right-hand corner, you're going to see a tile for Planning for the Future. Click that and it will take you directly to that site. And again, our email address is planningforthefuture@paulding.k12.ga.us, and I appreciate the feedback we've received through that portal. I just wanted to take a minute tonight. This is our final community conversation regarding the realignment process, just to provide you a recap of where we've been. We've had more than 300 online viewers and participants, and I think we've had many more joining us on YouTube, as well as reviewing the video later as it's on our YouTube channel. We've made our Slido results available on our website, and we received 220 emails to our Planning for the Future email address. So thank you for being with us in this process, sharing, and also providing us really good feedback about how this process has worked for you. Again, when you think about our webpage, this really is that one-stop shop. Again, you either use the tile on our homepage, go to the upper right, click on that tile for Planning for the Future, or go to www.paulding.k12.ga.us/planning for the future. It truly is that best source of information. FAQs, our Slido results, everything are there. And actually, as we speak right now, this presentation is up on that site. And I'd once again like to thank our technology, Clay Burnett, so much for your assistance, Jay Dillon, throughout this process, allowing you to come to you in a bit of a different venue, given the circumstances the world's in right now. So I'd like to give a special thank you to some of our staff who've just done a phenomenal job. Eric, one of the things we talked about every time was those guiding principles. You just want to take a second and go over those?
Absolutely, and you can see those right here on the slide. And as shared throughout this process, staff has utilized these guiding principles and the primary and secondary criteria throughout the process, utilizing the commentary and feedback that we've received in order to come to tonight's recommendations.
Right. So again, that was something we began with sharing our board in November, and it has kind of been a piece of all of our meetings thus far. Again, those guiding principles and criteria. And one of the most common questions we have to our email site is about school choice. And again, this is all located on our Planning for the Future webpage, but just remember, policy or regulation GBCCA-R deals with a process called request to remain. And that means when your family may be impacted by a boundary adjustment, there is a choice process to allow you to remain at that initial school. There are a couple criteria. One is you must provide transportation. Again, bus transportation is not an option like any of our other choice options. Also, there has to be available space, and then we do look at it in a prioritized fashion, making sure that our 8th graders may have priority, and again, like our elementary, our 5th grade have priority over those other levels. Just so you know, when this process is finalized, we will actually provide information and open up that request to remain portal almost immediately for those of you interested in pursuing that path. So again, please make sure that you check our webpage. It's explained very clearly there, JBCCA-R. It talks about all of our choice options, but most specifically, check out the request to remain process. Eric, before we move on, do you want to talk a little bit about our additions again? Because I understand we have our certificate of occupancy on both of those.
Again, yeah, and first though, I want to again thank our citizens for voting and supporting eSPLOST through this past referendum, as these funds are critical for us to be able to construct these world-class environments. And since we last met, we're excited to share that we have received the certificate of occupancy for this building, and right now we're waiting for all the furniture to come in, along with all the equipment to outfit those world-class STEAM labs. Additionally, same thing with Moses. We recently this week received the certificate of occupancy, and again, we're just awaiting the final furniture and all the equipment that's going to outfit the STEM labs and have a great experience for the kids. So we're looking very, very forward to that learning environment as well.
We're very, very proud of these additions, and again, including those safety corridors, the connecting corridors that were part of our SPLOST presentation as well. So again, we'd like to thank our voters for approving that referendum so we can actually have projects of this nature.
That's correct. That's correct.
So this is going to be one of our shorter meetings because what we're going to do now is we're going to share our staff recommendations that we'll be presenting to our board, both for elementary and middle school realignment. So Eric, if you want to start with elementary, and then we'll move to middle school.
Absolutely. So we'll get right to these recommendations. And again, utilizing the prioritized guiding principles and criteria based on your commentary and feedback, district staff is now going to present the following realignment recommendations. For elementary school, the following areas, area A and B, are recommended to be realigned from Shelton Elementary to Russom Elementary, and area C to be realigned from Abney Elementary to Shelton Elementary. I think you can see that here on the map. Pretty much what we have I've already put out for proposal in the community conversation number 2. Now, in addition to those previous recommendations we just talked about, these following areas are recommended as administrative reassignments, and that's to realign areas where currently we have no K-5 students currently living or enrolled, and also where we know development is currently being constructed or expected to be constructed over the next few years. These areas include area A.1 from Shelton Elementary to Russom Elementary, area A.2, which already traverses both Shelton and the Abney attendance zones. It will be realigned to be in the Abney zone at this time. That way it keeps the parcel intact. And then zone A.3, which is located in the southern part of the Abney School District near Industrial Circle, and that will be realigned from Abney Elementary School to Dallas Elementary School.
So again, that's an area that we're anticipating a development and again, looking at it in proactive fashion moving forward. And again, these are administrative reassignments.
That's correct. So in summary, you can see all the movement and all the recommendations for the elementary school here. Again, A.1, and B from the Shelton zone to the Russom zone. And then area C will go from Abney to Shelton. And then area A.2 will go ahead and clean up that parcel line between the Shelton and Abney school districts, and that will reside in the Abney attendance zone. And then A.3, which is that zone to the southern part, which will go from the Abney elementary zone and be realigned to the Dallas elementary school zone. Okay, just let that sit for a second.
And again, this information is available on our website now for you to review, as is our next slide dealing with our middle school proposal.
Okay, so we'll go right to the middle school now. So middle school recommendations, we'll start off with Area A, which is on the western portion, that just to the west of Cartersville Highway, and it lies adjacent to the Moses Middle School zone. And this Area A will also be recommended to be realigned from McClure Middle School to Moses Middle School. And then we see zone or Area B will also be recommended to be realigned from McClure Middle School to Moses Middle School. And then we have an administrative reassignment, which is this A.1. Currently, it's residing in the McClure Middle School zone, but we will recommend it for realignment to the Moses Middle School zone in order to reconnect that known property parcel there and keep that part intact. Again, in A.1, there are no school-age children or houses currently in this area.
And for our community to note, what they saw in our second presentation, Zone C, has been removed from this proposal that we'll be making to the Board of Education.
That's correct. So again, here is a summary of the middle school recommendations for realignment. Zone A and B from McClure Middle School Zone to the Moses Middle School Zone, and then 8.1, which is that administrative reassignment, just to keep that parcel intact, will also go from McClure to the middle school zone.
Okay.
And then finally, here's a comparison or a side-by-side of the elementary school realignment recommendations along with the middle school realignment recommendations. I'll just go ahead and just let that sit just for a second. So,
and again,
folks
these
can see
maps are available on our Planning
right.
for the Future site. Would encourage you to go check those. But again, all this information, again, as with all of our presentations, is available on that Planning for the Future website.
And also to just remind, there are searchable address databases
Right.
for these zones. So if you're unsure, you want to verify whether or not your residence lies within one of those zones, again, we encourage people to check it out. And if you can't find it and you're unsure, please give us a call and we'll help verify that with you.
Absolutely.
And again, we appreciate all the participation and the feedback and the commentary throughout this process. And again, thank everyone for their support and their continued support as we continue to collaborate together for the future in response to any additional growth.
Again, this is going to be the shorter of our 3 meetings that we've had thus far. Again, want to give you a couple of opportunities on how you can provide feedback. Again, of course, Slido will remain open for 1 hour after this presentation, and there is 2 tabs there. And go to the Q&A tab, and that is where it's open for you to provide feedback, as well as our web address, www.paulding.k12, or I'm sorry, planning for the future at paulding.k12.ga.us. And as we wrap up this evening, I would once again like to thank everyone, but I want to review the timeline that we've been through together. As you all know, you've heard a million times, we started in November presenting the direction we were heading to our Board of Education. We followed up in December with a communication plan. And then in January, February, and March, we've held community conversations with you along the line, receiving feedback, and of course, sharing that feedback through these meetings that we're having here. And in terms of where we go next, the staff will make a recommendation to the board. This would be the staff recommendation to the board on the March 23rd meeting. And then ultimately, if approved, that would take place at the April 13th board meeting. So again, from all of us here at the Paulding County School District, we appreciate you as a community. We understand that with growth come challenges, but we sincerely appreciate your involvement and your engagement in this process. And at this point, I'd like to thank Mr. Eric Hofstetter for your support. Again, I'd like to thank Clay Burnup, Jay Dillon for all of their technical support with us here, and thanking our community. So again, all this information available on our website, and I hope everyone has a great evening.
Good night.